Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored Never Boring. I have to admit this is not the video I had intended to upload to the channel today, but I've just discovered that Restoration Games, the company that published unmatched and reimagined old classics like Dark Tower, Thunder Road and Fireball Island, are finally bringing a new edition of Crossbows and Catapults to Kickstarter later in June 2023. Restoration Games first announced they would be remaking this childhood favourite a few years back, but it looks like they have finally carefully assembled their Kickstarter campaign, loaded their trebuchets, and they are ready to begin. Let's hope the whole thing doesn't come crashing down around their ears. For anyone who doesn't know, Crossbows and Catapults is a dexterity skill-based wargame for 2 players from way back in 1983, a precursor to the very similar Weapons and Warriors, which Board James reviewed on Cinemassacre. Oh, good lord. 13 years ago. The idea was you built some defences around your castle, positioned your troops and then deployed the titular crossbows and catapults, which had band operated firing mechanisms to hurl small plastic discs at your opponent. And yes, I do mean at your opponent. The aim may have been to knock down their defences and troops on the tabletop, but where's the fun in that when you could be trying to hit your brother in the eye? It was one of those games that I looked at longingly in the Argos catalogue. Yeah, good old Argos. I've spoken about that place on the channel before, the Cavern of Wonders. But despite the longing, I never actually owned the game. I suspect this was because my parents realised it would sprawl across the floor for days. No way you were playing this game on a table, and they would constantly be finding projectiles behind and under the furniture. Fast forward to 2007 and Moose Toys reinvented Crossbows and Catapults as Battleground. The original Vikings and Barbarians were now Orcs and Knights. There were new gameplay features, but the core concept remained the same. Seeing Battleground on store shelves revived all kinds of nostalgia deep in my soul, and when the game had run its course and toy shops were selling off their stock at sale prices, I leapt at the chance to finally own some little plastic war machines with real firing action. And now I have a plastic crate full of toys to wage war with my children, comprising the contents of the core set and an expansion called Tower Attack. And I thought we could take a closer look at this stuff because Restoration Games looks like it might be cleaving closer to Battleground than the classic version of Crossbows and Catapults. At the start of the game, both players set up their armies in a 12-inch area at opposing ends of a 1.5 metre long by 1 metre wide battlefield. You have a castle with an integrated catapult, walls to build defences, a cannon, a crossbow and a catapult. You have flags to protect and then you have your army. Green orcs with a gold leader, and blue knights with a silver leader. The warriors operate your weapons, you must have one within 2 inches to fire, and they must be positioned so they are not behind any buildings or weapons. To win you have to knock over all of your opponent's soldiers and then the hero. If you want to keep a soldier in the fight, you can put a little power disc under them which operates as an extra life. Orcs go first and on your turn you can take any 2 actions. You can move a warrior or weapon up to 6 inches. You can move your hero up to 12 inches, or you can fire one of your weapons if there is someone nearby to operate it. All of these machines are operated by rubber bands and have different firing mechanisms. The crossbows fire the discs along the ground, making them quite accurate and good for sniping exposed soldiers. The catapults fire the discs in an arc so they can clear walls and parapets and crush foes beyond. Finally, you have the cannons. These fire the discs in a straight line that you can angle up or down, making them quite versatile, but they seem to lack the power of the other 2 weapon types. And that's pretty much it really. There are a few other little rules. If you knock down a hero before all of the other warriors are dead, they come back into the fight but that player loses 1 action on their next turn. If you knock down an enemy flag, you can bring back a defeated warrior. If you knock down 3 flags at once, you can bring back 2 defeated warriors, and if a warrior with a power disc is knocked over, you remove the disc and immediately stand them up to continue fighting. It's all pretty basic, but the point isn't really the rules, it's the immediate gratification of firing projectiles at each other. There are a few little surprise functions built into the scenic elements too. The castle has a gate and if you hit it, it will pop up. This will cause flames to leap out of the top of the castle and any character on the parapet will get knocked over. Kids go nuts for that. The tower expansion also added an extra wrinkle. At the start of the game you take an opponent's soldier and place them in the prison cage. You place one of your own soldiers on the tower as a guard. While your prisoner is secure you get 3 actions instead of 2. but if your opponent can hit the target above the prison, the cage door flings open, you lose your bonus, and your opponent can add that soldier to their army. If your opponent knocks out your guard, the prisoner escapes on their own 3 turns later. Overall, this is a really fun lightweight wargame. It incorporates the idea of measuring distances for movement and operating weapons, but the focus is very much on flinging plastic discs around, which means it never gets too heavy, and while it does take skill to make some of the shots, there isn't really much in the way of strategy or tactics. As a result, this is a good option for families and younger gamers. The downsides are it's pretty shallow. You are, after all, just playing with toy catapults, which is obviously fun, but there isn't really much to get your teeth into. Also, the weapons used elastic bands for propulsion, and as bands constantly degrade and snap, you have to keep finding new bands and patching up the game, sometimes in the middle of the action. Restoration games seem to be addressing some of those issues with their new addition. The big thing is they are moving away from elastic bands. Now each weapon has an integrated spring-loaded mechanism. I guess this could be good or bad. Good because you will probably have more consistent power and you won't need to replace any bands. Bad because if the mechanism fails, it's probably going to be a lot harder to remedy. They are also introducing a new trebuchet and ballista, and new building options including a gate arch and destructible drawbridge. Oh, and it appears they are sticking with the theme of orcs and knights, firmly rooting the game in the more palatable fantasy setting. But I think that's about all I have to say for now. I'm going to put a link in the video description below for the Crossbows and Catapults sign up page, where you can add your email to be kept up to date. To be clear though, this is not a sponsored video. I am not endorsing the campaign and I won't be backing it myself. I just know I have had a lot of fun with Battlegrounds playing against my children, and I thought some of you might want to take a closer look at the campaign when it lands on Kickstarter later this month. So that is it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider pressing the like button. If you really enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so, and hopefully I'll see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye.